my channel. My name is Karuna from Complex PTSD Made Simple. Today we're going to look at the definition of complex PTSD, and we're also going to consider 5 symptoms of complex PTSD. When a trauma is laid down, the mind becomes misaligned from the heart, and healing is the reunion of the mind and heart. Whether we've experienced PTSD or complex PTSD, it all leads to the reunion of the mind and the heart. And in this misalignment of mind, we become confused, we become hypervigilant, and we often have low self-worth. So with this definition of trauma, we'll look at PTSD and complex PTSD. With PTSD, post-traumatic stress disorder, we're often aware of the traumatic event that occurred. With complex PTSD, it's more vague. Both PTSD and complex PTSD are equally challenging, but the topic of this video is complex PTSD, so we'll consider that vague, complex quality of PTSD. Many people in our world have complex PTSD. They've experienced traumas, psychological memories that were fast forwarded to the current day. And many of us act as a puppet to those psychological memories. This vague quality of complex PTSD often starts in childhood, before the brain's fully developed, before the central nervous system is completely formed. The environment of our home may have been normalized, and in that normalization of the home, we may have minimized emotional abuse, verbal abuse, sexual abuse, physical abuse. A child doesn't know anything beyond the environment in which he or she was raised. When we start to question the environment, when we start to put together the ABCs of childhood, a mirage starts to fall. Complex PTSD simply offers a framework for symptoms so that we can proceed with our healing journey, with weaving the mind back together with the heart. Let's not look at it as a category, let's not consider it as a diagnosis. In this relatively new field of study, here are 5 symptoms of complex PTSD. Symptom 1 is that the traumas may seem vague or foggy. They have a hold on you, and this vagueness can feel like a watercolor wash over a canvas. It might seem murky, but other areas might seem vivid. This vagueness can also extend to not understanding your actions or your words sometimes. You may not understand why the trigger arises or why this particular event has such a hold on you, which leads to the next symptom. People with complex PTSD will often minimize the abuse. If you experienced emotional or verbal abuse, you may minimize it and say, well, that's not as bad as physical abuse. But if you experienced physical abuse, you may also minimize that and say it's not bad as sexual abuse. If you experienced sexual abuse, part of you may even say inside, well, maybe I deserved it. Think about your dear brain soaking in those messages over a period of time as a young one. Abuse is abuse, and abuse is not acceptable. The third symptom of complex PTSD is little sense of self-identity. We do not feel differentiated from family of origin. We do not have a sense of loving autonomy within the family of origin. Your self-identity, your interests, your talents, your joys may have been absorbed within the family narrative. The fourth symptom of complex PTSD is dissociation. Dissociation is a feeling of being out of your body, out here. It's the feeling of being elsewhere. The body's here, but your awareness is elsewhere. It's similar to a zoning out or a fog. When a trauma is laid down and the mind splits from the heart, the mind will go to all sorts of coping mechanisms. And one of the top coping mechanisms for those with complex PTSD is dissociation. The fifth symptom we'll cover today is hypervigilance. Once the mind is split from the heart, the mind goes to the canopy of a tree, so it's very, very shaky. The mind will jump from leaf to shaky leaf, trying to find a solution. And in that frenetic energy, the mind becomes hypervigilant. You can appear completely calm on the outside, but be hypervigilant inside. And you can also appear anxious on the outside and be hypervigilant to boot. The healing journey often begins when the mind, in its hypervigilance, recognizes it can no longer jump from leaf to shaky leaf. It then turns around at itself, starts to gaze at itself, and it climbs back down the tree into the trunk. As a foundational component within your healing portfolio, I invite you to incorporate prayer or meditation, same thing, first thing in the morning, last thing at night, like bookends, and all the stories of your day go between those bookends. I have a dedicated meditation program to heal complex PTSD at my website, which is hubfortheheart.com. Go ahead and check it out, and please share this video. If you have questions you would like answered about complex PTSD, please put them in the comments section below, and I'll answer your questions in upcoming videos. Thank you so much for being here today, and I will see you back on my channel again very soon.